This story is set in the 21st century, but it takes us far into the future, into the 22nd century. Here, due to the devastating effects of climate change, life on Earth has become nearly impossible. Humanity has been forced to create shelters in space, a total of 80 such habitats. Among these, 3 shelters have declared themselves as the Adrian Republic, a powerful faction that wages war against Earth and other space shelters. This conflict has led to a civil war between the Adrian Republic and the Allied forces, a coalition fighting to maintain peace and resist Adrian's aggression. The Adrian Republic uses robots as their primary weapon of war. To counter their advanced robotics, the Allied forces have also begun developing their own battle robots. Amid this conflict, we meet Captain Jung E, a fierce and skilled soldier. Jung E wakes up disoriented and finds herself surrounded by enemy robots. She immediately engages them in combat, taking them down one by one. But just as she begins gaining the upper hand, a massive and highly dangerous robot appears. This colossal machine is far more powerful than the others, but Jung E, using her quick thinking and combat skills, manages to trap it under a pile of rocks. As she's about to deliver the final blow to the robot, something unexpected happens. Her eyes catch sight of a doll lying nearby. This fleeting distraction causes her to lower her guard for just a moment. Seizing the opportunity, another robot fires at her, hitting her hand. The impact shatters 2 of her fingers, leaving her injured and vulnerable. When Jung E looks at her injured fingers, she is stunned to discover that she herself is a robot. This shocking revelation leaves her completely bewildered. The environment around her begins to shift, and it becomes apparent that she is not on a battlefield but inside a laboratory. Scientists gather around her, discussing how she always ends up in this state, seemingly stuck in a loop. They wonder aloud why Jung E always returns to this particular scenario during the tests. Their leader arrives and informs them that a group of army officers is scheduled to visit the lab today. She orders the experiment to be paused immediately. It is revealed that everyone present is part of the Allied forces, working on advanced robotics and simulations. Jung E is taken to a briefing room where senior army officers await her. Her robotic body is dismantled piece by piece for inspection, highlighting her mechanical nature. Meanwhile, the officers begin discussing the state of humanity and Earth's grim past. Through their conversation, we learn that 40 years ago, global warming made Earth uninhabitable. In response, humanity built numerous colonies in space and relocated there to survive. Over time, the inhabitants of these space colonies declared themselves independent states, cutting off all ties with Earth. Access to the colonies was completely restricted, leaving Earth in isolation. The Allied forces possess advanced robots designed to fight against human colonies in space. Jung E, who is herself a robot, was once a decorated captain years ago, fighting valiantly for humanity. Renowned for her exceptional skills, she won numerous battles for humans. However, during a final, decisive battle that could have secured humanity's victory, she fell into a coma. After this incident, the company overseeing her missions extracted all the data from Jung E's brain and preserved it. Using this data, they created advanced robotic versions of her to continue the fight against the colonies in space. These colonies, which now operate independently, are humanity's adversaries. The goal of these robot versions of Jung E is to lead humanity to victory against the space-dwelling colonists. However, despite the company's best efforts, every version of Jung E's robot comes to a halt at the exact same moment, the day of her final battle, replayed as a simulation in the lab. It is believed that if they can get one of these robot versions to successfully complete that simulated battle, they can replicate the strategy in reality and finally win the war against the colonies. As the army officers observe this briefing, the leader explains everything to them in detail. Shockingly, the leader is revealed to be none other than Jung E's own daughter. She has been overseeing the experiments, determined to honor her mother's legacy and secure humanity's future. Jung E's mind is reactivated once again, and as she regains consciousness, she finds herself inside a robotic body. Realizing that her body is incomplete, she becomes extremely panicked and starts shouting, "I can't feel my body!" The overwhelming realization of her robotic existence throws her into shock. Watching her mother in distress, Jung's daughter, the leader of the lab, quickly deactivates her brain to calm the situation. Jung's robotic body shuts down, leaving the room silent. This recurring problem has plagued the experiments. Every time Jung realizes she is no longer human but a robot, she cannot process the truth and breaks down emotionally. She struggles to accept her new identity as a machine. Later, the leader, who is Jung's daughter, confides in one of her colleagues. She explains, "When I was little, I had a severe lung disease. The treatment required an enormous amount of money. That's why my mother, Jung, always fought in every battle to earn enough to save me. In some way, I feel like I'm responsible for her current state." The story flashes back to the past, showing the leader as a young child. Jung E is with her, comforting her before a critical surgery. It's an emotional moment as Jung reassures her daughter, leaving her at the hospital for the operation. Determined to provide for her, Jung heads off to fight in yet another battle. The narrative then returns to the present. The leader, now an adult, visits her doctor, and the doctor delivers devastating news. Although we treated your condition when you were a child, the treatment wasn't a permanent cure. Your illness has progressed significantly, and you only have 2 months to live. The doctor offers her an alternative, explaining, you can transfer your consciousness, your mind's data, into an artificial intelligence system. Doing so will grant you eternal life as an AI, with full AI rights. However, there are limitations. You won't be able to marry, move freely without permission, or make independent choices about your existence. Additionally, your data could be sold to a corporation or government, giving them complete control over how it's used. Hearing this, the leader is left with a heart-wrenching decision. Once again, the narrative takes us into a flashback. This time, it focuses on Jung's mother. We see her in a moment of struggle, approached by representatives from the corporation that now possesses all of Jung's mind data. They present her with a deal. Sign this contract and we'll take care of all your financial troubles permanently. We'll even cover your daughter's education expenses. Faced with no other choice, Jung's mother signs the contract, unknowingly sealing her daughter's fate. The story then transitions back to the present. Back in the lab, we see the director conducting experiments on Jung's brain. This time, a previously dormant section of her brain is successfully activated. The director and his team are ecstatic at the progress, marveling at their groundbreaking achievement. Shortly after, Jung's daughter and the director prepare to meet with the president for an important briefing. However, before the meeting begins, an officer informs them that the president will not be attending in person. Instead, she suggests they pass the information to her directly. Reluctantly, both Jung's daughter and the director decide to return to the lab. Upon arriving back at the lab, they discover something shocking. The president has already arrived at their facility. Jung's daughter approaches the president alongside the director, but as they begin their interaction, the director unexpectedly freezes, completely immobile. It is at this moment that a startling revelation unfolds. The director himself is not human, but an advanced robot, carefully designed to blend seamlessly into the human hierarchy. The president meets Jung's daughter and shares some surprising news. He reveals, I've learned that the Adrian War is nearing its end. Because of this, we must shut down this entire project aimed at creating fighter robots. Instead, we should focus on developing robots that assist humans with domestic tasks. The president further discloses an astonishing detail to Jung's daughter. The director working with you was created years ago using data from my own brain. In essence, the director is an extension of me. This revelation leaves Jung's daughter speechless. After explaining this, the president reactivates the director and departs, leaving the lab and its occupants to process this shocking turn of events. The director, frustrated by Jung's repeated failures during simulated missions, takes drastic measures. He orders the removal of one of Jung's robotic arms, hoping to observe if the newly activated yellow section of her brain will respond to the extreme situation. Despite this extreme step, the yellow section does not activate. Furious, the director personally enters the simulation chamber and shoots multiple bullets into Jung's robotic legs, further damaging her already deactivated body. Now desperate, the director turns to Jung's daughter and commands her to reactivate her mother. Only Jung's daughter holds the authority and control to bring Jung back online. However, she refuses, firmly standing her ground. The director, enraged by her defiance, points a gun at her, threatening to shoot. Before he can act, an officer enters the room, interrupting the tense standoff. The sudden arrival halts the situation, leaving everyone in suspense about what will happen next. The officer informs the director that the president has summoned him immediately. Frustrated, the director leaves to meet the president. Meanwhile, Jung's daughter seizes the moment to discuss with her team. She firmly states that the project must be shut down permanently. She also insists that after the project is terminated, all of Jung's data, including her memories, should be returned to her. During this process, Jung's daughter discovers that the company has secretly created another robot using her mother's brain data. Outraged, she confronts the individual responsible for creating this new robot. He defends the decision, explaining that the company leveraged the third clause in their contract, which allows them to use the data to create and sell robots to anyone. Enraged by this betrayal, Jung's daughter attacks him, but stops short of causing serious harm. Instead, she heads straight to the lab where her mother's new robot is being held. When she comes face to face with the newly created version of Jung, something extraordinary happens. The yellow section of Jung's robotic brain activates again. This activation is triggered by a flood of memories from Jung's past, reminding her of her humanity and connection to her daughter. The robot, now aware, starts communicating with her daughter, sparking an emotional and unexpected interaction. Jung doesn't recognize her daughter because her last memory is from a time when her daughter was just a little girl. She begins sharing her thoughts with the leader, saying, "My daughter has a big operation today. She gave me her small doll, but I lost it, and now I'm so worried." Hearing this, Jung's daughter is overwhelmed with emotion, tears filling her eyes. However, she can't reveal the truth that she is her daughter. The next day marks Jung's final trial. To help her mother succeed, the leader reduces the yellow portion of Jung's brain, the section that holds memories of her daughter. The trial begins again, and as always, Jung finds herself stuck in the same spot, the place where she believes she was shot in her hand. But this time, the director closely observes the simulation and notices something unusual. Jung wasn't actually hit by a bullet. Suspicious, he realizes that this must be part of a plan by either Jung or her daughter. Immediately, he sounds the alarm. Meanwhile, Jung attacks the lab's security systems and escapes. She runs into a large hall filled with rows of robots that look just like her, all deactivated. As she takes in the sight, other robotic police forces arrive to stop her. Jung bravely fights back against the police robots, engaging in a fierce battle. In the midst of the chaos, a police robot grabs Jung and is about to destroy her. Just in time, her daughter intervenes, deactivating the police robot from behind and saving Jung's life. As more security forces are expected to arrive, Jung's daughter quickly transfers all of her mother's data into another robot and escapes with it. However, the director watches everything unfold through the security cameras. Now on the run, Jung's daughter takes the robot containing her mother's consciousness onto a train, hoping to evade capture. But the director is already there, lying in wait. He fires a shot at Jung's daughter, injuring her. Seeing her daughter wounded, Jung is overcome with rage and launches a fierce attack on the director. The two engage in an intense fight, during which the director's eye is damaged. To his shock, he realizes for the first time that he is not human, but a robot himself. Instead of feeling fear, he revels in the discovery, understanding that his robotic nature makes him powerful. Fueled by this realization, he counters Jung with all his might. As the battle escalates, additional robots arrive to aid the director. Despite being outnumbered, Jung fights them all single-handedly, showcasing her incredible strength and determination. The chaos on the moving train leads to it splitting into two sections. In the melee, both Jung and the director are left dangling off the edge of the train, fighting to hold on. At the last moment, Jung's daughter gathers all her remaining strength and pulls her mother to safety. The director, unable to save himself, plummets from the train to his death. Jung's daughter looks at her mother and tells her, "You must leave now. More security and forces will be arriving soon. You are free now, free to live your life as you wish." As she speaks, tears fill her eyes, leaving Jung stunned. This moment of vulnerability and love strikes Jung deep as she begins to understand her own existence fully. With no time to waste, Jung escapes the chaos. In the final scene, we see her amidst the serene mountains, finally living a life of freedom. No more experiments, no more pain. She is now liberated from the endless cycles of suffering her mind endured. Her journey from being a tool of war to reclaiming her autonomy concludes in this peaceful moment, marking the end of a relentless battle for identity and independence. And with that, this story and film come to an end. We hope you enjoyed this incredible tale.